Well, we're back from camping, got the street set up back on it, and I gouged up the bike. I didn't even drop it. Alright, so we're back from our camping trip. We have all of our luggage here cleaned up and drying. It was quite muddy out there. And the saddlebags in particular, they did a pretty good job, except there's one piece of this that I was super disappointed by, and that's the backside here. So this material, while it's very tough, it is very abrasive because, look at this. It completely gouged up the side number panels right here on both sides, and it just looks absolutely horrible. It's trash right now. I think it had to do with probably the fitment, because I know the only way to kind of fix it to this panel was from here and stretched across, so maybe because it allowed for a little bit of up and down movement that it was doing this. This isn't even cleaned up. It was even worse previously. But you can just see how bad this is. It looks like someone just took a huge piece of like 200 grit sandpaper and went to town on it. So for future camping trips, I want to modify those a little bit. I need to figure out some kind of good material or something that I can fix to the back of that so it's less abrasive. But what we're gonna do today is fix this, do a little plastics restoration. There's a few things that we can do to this to make it look a little bit better. But in addition to that, there's actually something else I want to do to this to not only prevent this from future rides if that's still a little bit abrasive, but to also give it a little bit of an overhaul here and clean it up even more than what the plastics restoration is going to be. But first we got to get this cleaned up and looking a lot better. So what we're going to do is make this look like this. So this panel was also really gouged up, but I've already fixed this side. I will say this is not 100% by any means. This is a 10-foot restoration, you know. From 10 feet away or further, it looks fantastic, but then when you get up close, look in the light, you can see it's not perfect. But I wasn't going for perfect. For my purposes, this is perfectly adequate, and if you take a little bit more time, a little bit more effort with it, you can make it look even better. So let's take care of this side. I'll show you how I did it. Alright, so here's everything that I used to restore my plastics. We have a razor blade, brand new razor blade, as sharp as possible. We have some ultra fine grit sandpaper. This is 2000 grit. I have a spray bottle of water. You can also just use like a Tupperware water, something like that. A mask, and finally a heat gun. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna first take our razor blade and go over the affected area here and just kind of scrape along it. Not putting too much pressure on it, but basically what we're gonna do is take out all the major peaks and valleys here and just kind of get the rough stuff and get it fairly smooth. We're gonna get it most of the way there. Then, once we finally have that done, we're gonna take it one step further with the sandpaper and the spray bottle. So we're gonna wet sand this. We're gonna take the spray bottle, spray down the plastic, spray down the sandpaper, and then just go over it really nice and smooth and even, and we'll wipe it off and, you know, kind of make sure that it's as smooth as possible, and this will really do that. And final step is going to be the heat gun, and wear the mask because you're burning plastic, you don't want to breathe that stuff in. So what the heat gun does is it takes care of two things here. So once we have this all smoothed out, it's going to be very dull and you're still going to see a little bit of the scratches. And so what the heat does is it takes the scratches, it kind of blends it in more or less, and at the same time it's going to give us that gloss back. We'll go across it very smoothly, very consistently. You want to make sure that you're covering the whole area and not just focusing on one spot in particular, because this is plastic and that is heat. You will melt this. We'll be very careful about that and just making sure that this is evenly heated and make it look as smooth as possible. right, all right. Not bad. Not bad. Is this 100%? Hell to the no. But this is like, 75% of the way there. And obviously, as I said before, if you take a lot more time and more effort into it, you can make this look pretty much new. So this panel, compared to the one on the other side, this one I think took the brunt of it, because you can still see right here, it's really bad. Like, I had to really sand into this, and it's still not 100%. I might have to do another pass, actually. There's also some scuff marks from around here, like the black of the material on the saddlebag, I think more kind of like bled itself into the plastic a little bit. So I think with one extra pass, just basically repeat the process over again, this will be perfectly smooth and perfect for my application for the next step, which is going to be graphics and custom graphics. Not to say that these aren't custom, they are, but they were done from another company, not by myself, homemade. This is from Attack Graphics, which is Rocky Mountain atv.mc in-house graphics company, and I think everything came out pretty nicely. Although I have to say, this is not the original route I wanted to take. Originally, I just wanted to find some universal number plates to put on this, basically just using the vinyl as a protective cover here. So next time I have the saddlebags on, it's gonna rub against the vinyl and not against the plastic here. But for whatever reason, I could not for the life of me find red universal vinyl for backgrounds for number plates. I could find them in white, black, yellow, green, but no red to be found anywhere. And these were only a couple dollars more than those universal kits, so I figured, why not? Let's just go with it. I know I don't race, but whatever. Who cares? It'll just be for fun anyway. I did go as minimal as I could, so I decided to choose colors to basically just stick with the red so that it blends in as much as possible, and just a little bit of blue to keep it the OEM color scheme. So it's pretty easy to go about putting this on. It's a gigantic sticker, that's all it is, right? But there's a couple things you want to keep in mind because it is so big and because it's specifically cut for a certain area to go on the bike. You want to make sure that it's put on as perfectly as possible because any little adjustments on one side could drastically change the outcome on the other. If you don't, then it means pulling it off, reapplying, or worse, cutting your losses and getting another set. But thankfully, I have a tip I'll share with you that I use to apply large graphics like this, and it works every time and makes it as seamless as possible. What I'm gonna do before I put this on the actual plastic itself is I'm gonna make a cut right down the middle lengthwise. So basically for any piece that you want to do this on, you want it on the longest piece possible. Just peel this up, and then I'm gonna take some scissors and just cut my way across. Then on this piece that I cut off, I'm gonna cut it again and just make a little strip. So basically what I'm doing is making a strip in the middle, and then the rest of this is still gonna be covered up on the backing so that I can make adjustments. Basically I can just use this section on the plastic to get that aligned, because with such a small area here it's really easy to pull up and make any adjustments, and that way you can kind of line it out, make sure that everything here matches, especially right here, that any weird cuts that you have to work with, that they're centered up and look good. And then you can lay down this side, and then we'll peel up one side, pull off the backing, smooth out, and basically work our way from the center out, so that way at the same time we're also pushing those bubbles out and towards the edges, so that way we can take care of them and they're not stuck in the middle and doesn't stick out. And so this should be pretty seamless. just like that, we got the other side as well. Didn't want to bore you with the details of this one, although I probably should have actually filmed this side, not the other one, because this one is going over the exhaust, so it has more of this curve here. So I actually did come into a little bit of trouble right about here. As I was going down, it started to pinch. To give this a little bit more pliability, heated it up with a heat gun here. You can also use a hair dryer. If you look really close into the details here, it's a little wrinkly, but I mean, overall, compared to the rest of it, you're never gonna see that, never. Another thing that I will point out, which I actually saw on the other side too, is especially right here, because this is a very tight spot, right there in the light, you see that little dimple? And if you push it down with your finger, it stays. So, in order to get rid of that, and I actually like to do this all the way around the edges here just to make sure that it's secure, is just hit it with the heat. So let's just do that real quick here. Don't need much, just put it on low. Just warm it up enough that the adhesive gets a little tacky on the underside and the vinyl itself is getting nice and flexible. And there, just like that, the dimple is pressed down and should stay that way. And finally, before the full reveal, my handiwork. I actually ripped this off from an old CRF450R logo. I'm not exactly sure which era this is from. If you know, let me know. Put it in the comments, but just added a little L here, cleaned it up in Microsoft Paint, actually, if you can believe it, and put it on the vinyl cutter. It took forever to get this lined up completely, and adding these highlights right here. This is a separate piece of vinyl, this white outline around it, but man, is it worth it. It looks so good. It looks basically factory, and it's on new plastics. If you'll notice, these two pieces are both red. Well, actually, this is all one piece. I had thought these were two separate pieces because on the OEM one, this is red, this is black. But I like the red. I like that it has so much red on it and it's just all red, so I wanted to get red pieces, and I thought I could just get this little section, the rough stuff, but that's not the case, so you gotta get the whole piece. Thankfully, Achirby's has an all red or an all black version if that's the way you wanna go. And so these fit up pretty well. These are actually for the 450X, and so it shares a lot of plastics with that, I guess. Only thing is that it just sticks out just a little bit right here. But I don't think that's gonna be a huge problem. I'm gonna hit the heat gun with this and then maybe just kind of like tape it down to the gas tank overnight and just kind of see that that kind of gets pushed into place more like this side. And reveal. Isn't this look fantastic? I love how much red there is on this. Just that little addition right there makes all the difference. I'm super happy with the way that my OEM kind of tweak to the graphics came out. I think it looks like a factory bike. All the clout, but none of the skills though, am I right? And next time I put some saddlebags on these, at least the plastic underneath will be protected. Worst case scenario, the vinyl on top gets scratched enough that I have to peel it off, put something else on. Not a big deal. I'm thrilled with the way this turned out, and no better day to take it out. It's beautiful, it's sunny, it's cool. So I'm gonna go out and enjoy this. See ya.